Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming today to our first Women's Legislative Roundtable of the 2025 session. And it's an interesting session as we are finding out. This is what I know so far. And if there's someone from the delegates' offices or the delegates themselves who have more updated information, please correct me. But when I made this virtual,
Tito's mom passed away.
I'm sorry.
I just saw the message.
I knew. Can you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You know,
I
it's
just
so
got
hard.
Sorry,
Hard to
sorry.
get good help, you know. But when I made this virtual, it was because I was afraid of black ice, and I had visions of someone, you know, doing a double gainer somewhere on the Richmond streets, and that was terrifying me. Then I find out that Richmond has no water. I heard from some of our Richmond board members going, we're under a boil water alert. And then yesterday there were pipes bursting in the General Assembly building, which has been closed. All the state offices are closed. And now I understand that there is a problem with the fire suppression system, and they don't have the part, and they hopefully will get the part over the weekend. So what is going to happen, the last I've heard, is they will gavel in at noon today because they're required by law to gavel in on the second Wednesday at noon. They will have some procedural resolutions that have to be passed, and then everybody will be, you know, in recess until Monday morning, and the building will be closed. And so that's the latest. And you know, we'll just keep you posted and we'll go from there. So I have no idea what this means in terms of hearings, whether they're going to double up here. I don't know, but when we know it, you will know it. So that's what's going on in this kind of weird thing that's it is the General Assembly this time. So we're going to change things up a little bit this year. We're going to try something just not drastically new, but we know that the issue groups are the backbone of our advocacy. And they write testimony, they work with the legislators, and then they have education programs. The last one being the very good one that the Environmental Justice Group did on data centers. And we want to promote them more because we always need more people. And we want to let you know that without them, our advocacy program would not be what it is. So we are going to, as much as possible, try to feature the leaders of these issue groups at each of our WLRTs. So today we're going to take up voting and elections issues. So we do have Janet Boyd, who wears two hats. Janet is our voter services director. She's also the co-chair of voting and elections issue group with Lisa Gerchik, who is out of the country right now. But she'll get hers when she gets back because we just have lots more work for her to do. But anyway, so Janet is going to discuss the meetings today, introduce our speakers, and then at the end, she will have a little bit of time to talk about the bills they're working on. And then Denise will come on and talk about lead day. So then we're going to try this year, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to turn this over to Janet, who will introduce our speakers, and Stephanie Sidwell is here from Delegate Glass's office. So we will go from there. So Janet, thank you very much, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Joan. I appreciate this opportunity, and I appreciate that everybody that is here today in spite of the cold. And as Joan mentioned, I do help lead, along with my colleague Lisa Gerchik, the Voting and Elections Issue Group. And you will meet Lisa on League Day in a couple of weeks. She, as Joan mentioned, she's out of the country. In fact, she's in Antarctica. I'm not so sure that it is any warmer here than it is in Antarctica right now. Who knows? They have their summer months right now. But the Voting and Elections Issue Group is pleased to have this opportunity to help manage the League's first Women's Legislative Roundtable, which is focusing on voting and elections bills important to the League. Already, even though this is a short session, at least 36 bills, and this was as of yesterday afternoon, so there's probably more, have already been pre-filed on these issues. Our first speaker today is Delegate Jackie Glass. I don't know whether it's Stephanie, you're sitting in for her, but that would be perfect as well. Delegate Glass represents House District 93, which includes much of the city of Norfolk. She is a member of the House Privileges and Elections Committee. Along with many of our partners concerned about protecting Virginia voters' right to vote, we have been working closely with Delegate Glass on important legislation in this area. I look forward to listening to her and her staff update us on her efforts on this legislation and other important issues before the Privileges and Elections Committee. Thank you for taking your time to speak with us today. Delegate Glass, Stephanie, whoever, we're ready for you.
Okay, I'm just going to start my video so everyone can see me. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Well, Delegate Glass was scheduled to be here. She is out and about right now trying to figure out what's going on with the session. So I heard your brief as far as the session goes, and that's what we know. So the water should be restored. They were having problems with the fire suppression system. So hopefully everything's back by Monday. We're waiting on the same word you are. So we're standing by to stand by as well. As far as the committees and stuff go, we are unsure of how much work they're able to do behind the scenes, not being allowed in the buildings. So it will depend as far as when the committees actually start, how much work they're able to get done in these 3 days. So we'll just be standing by just like the rest of you all. So I know Delegate Glass had specific words that she wanted to talk about concerning the bills. So what I would like to put out to women in general about the voting and elections, there are bills that are coming forth. But if I could say one thing to a large group of women is that your advocacy matters as women, right? Women tend to be more collaborative in nature. They tend towards communion, and they want people to gather together. So it's really important women provide kind of that backbone. So when we're talking about elections, as in getting people to the polls, women drive that. Women do that. Women are the ones that make the plan, that make sure the neighbors have a ride to get there. Women do that. So what I would just encourage that more to happen. Other than getting people to the polls, and as far as the elections go, I will leave that up to Delegate Glass. I think she is just coming in the door. So if you'll give me 2 minutes, I'm going to go see if she is there.
Wow, 78. That's fabulous. So we're waiting for Delegate Glass to come, and I'm so excited that she is able to join. Oh, hi, Stephanie. I was just about to start talking, but you're there.
Yes, ma'am. So because of the water shortage, we had to do a bit of running around today. So my apologies for the interruption, but Delegate Glass is here. So I'm just going to let her use my computer to speak to you all specifically about the any bills that are coming before privileges and elections, and then open it up and see if you have any questions. Good.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, thank you for your patience. I got to, we're so blessed to have a page selected out of our district, and all of them had to be picked up today by 10 o'clock. So I'm helping hopefully a neighbor out by picking up their little ones, but I'm happy to be here. My ears, eyes, and heart are open. And good morning, Senator Favola as well. I see you there.
We were just looking for some updates on the privileges and elections bills and the voting bills that you'd be working on this term.
Okay, so this session, apologize. Thank you, Joan. I appreciate you. This session, I do not have very many privileges and elections bills, but I expect for a lot of them to be coming before me. I can expect there's a couple things that I know that are in the works that I think might be hot button items, bills that I'm not sure whether they've been filed yet. We'll know by, actually, I think we'll know by Friday or Monday. We don't know
by Monday. Yeah.
By Monday or so, everything that might be coming before us, but some things that I've heard that are pretty interesting and will require a lot of conversation. We've got a lot of I don't want to call them complaints, but definitely concerns about curbside voting, specifically around the folks that are out there working for a particular candidate. When do they cut off? When do they stop? When do they stop talking in the car? And at what point do we need to put something in a place to officially say that, hey, you can't go beyond this point, or once this is, I think that there's some training on the candidate side for the folks, but I know that there's some legislation coming about for that. I believe, I'm trying to think of anything else that I've heard of thus yet, but I don't really have the best gauge until we're starting to sit and have our committee meetings. As a subcommittee chair for the election administration, we have a set down with the chair to sort of see what's on our docket and sort of group things so that we'll know, like, you know, this day I'll be seeing all of the things that deal with timelines and elections, and this day we'll be doing things that deal with the other administrative things. So we sort of chunk the topic out. Hopefully that helps for folks that are tracking. We do our best to do that. But I think that's the only real privileges and election bill that I actually got some folks emailing our office about and got real complaints about, like, look, we don't want to feel harassed when we're in our car trying to vote. And so can you all do something about that? Again, I don't suspect there's going to be a lot of big changes as we're trying to let the systems that we have put in place since 2020 work their way and see how well they're working and not working. There's been a very good relationship with the commissioner on that. As I think if you have seen, she's come to the committee and really like briefed and is also saying some of the same things that we're saying and really validating us, allowing the process to work itself out and make sure the things that we put in place are working efficiently so then we can make changes from there. But I don't have any big news for you all. I would be open to, once I have my docket meeting and sending something out to you all just to say, hey, here's overview, here's what I think. But I know you guys already do an amazing job at tracking all the things. Sometimes you have the information before we do, but I will definitely make myself and keep myself available for that.
Yeah, that would be great. We do have a file that we put things in and we'll send out to people who attend these. So anything you have would be great.
I can do that. Whichever email came to the office, I'll have us send something back out to just to say, here's kind of here's what I'm seeing. Is it okay to ask if there's anything that you all you've been hearing to come down the pipeline?
Well, one of the things, Delegate, I'm Janet Boyd actually, and I help lead our issues group that follows the voting and elections bills. And I know that you have had some discussions with a coalition effort to try to manage some of the problems that we were seeing with regard to list maintenance and things that the governor was doing actually right before the election. And I was wondering if you had any updates on your efforts in that area.
Yeah, so in our office, when I found out about the list maintenance things, the biggest question for me started with the DMV. Actually, I'll tell you that, and I was like, wait a minute. If a issue happens 1,600 times, and I'm just, throwing the number that kind of was floating around out there, then we need to look at the process by which people are checking and putting in wrong information. We reached out to, actually had my staff contact the DMV and find out where the question actually lied. It was the 7th question in that was muddling people up. And I think that part of this is, it's a privileges and election thing, but it's also a process thing of maybe putting in, our recommendation was to maybe put a little cue, because you're operating off of, you know where you slide your card and you're sort of just pressing buttons along. Maybe there needs to be a prompt before and after that question of saying, are you sure? So that is not an issue for folks unwittingly checking the answer incorrectly for themselves, or making that a cue for the person standing in front of them saying, hey, do you realize this is what you're checking, for that side of things. So I think there was 2 separate issues of following process on the executive side, but also how do we make sure that we're not doing a disservice to folks when they're inside the DMV. And that's where we sort of, our office made the recommendation to them for that. And we'll follow up now that we're in Richmond just to see if there's something there. But I think that might alleviate some of that, some of it, not all of it, obviously, but it seems like I think that's a fair thing to ask.
Great, that's perfect. And thank you again so much for coming and speaking with us today. This is, we are very anxious and eager to work with you during the session. And, here's wishing that the water gets good in Richmond so you can get started. And again, this won't be the last time we have a chance to speak with you. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. And I just say I'm always inspired, and I know I can say this because this is the League of Women Voters, but I am always inspired by the sisterhood that gets the work done. Yeah, in the dark and in the light, because I know some of you guys are working in the dark and in the light. So we are so grateful to have you provide clarity sometime to us on things as we lose it, as we move along. So I want to express my sincerest gratitude for the work that you all do together and separate.
Good work,
Yeah,
Delegate
thank you.
Glass.
Thank you.
So thank you, Delegate Glass. Our second speaker today is Senator Barbara Favolo, and I see her in the room, so good to see you. She represents the Senate District 40, which includes most of Arlington County, which is where I live as well. So it's great to see you. We've been excited, the League, working with Senator on her bills, and the 2 that we have been very much watching, and I know they've already been pre-filed, would extend the time that registrars must receive mailed ballots after the election. And also the second one would strengthen the rules on the impact of designating a guardianship and the subsequent or least risk of loss of voting rights. So on both those, we thank you so much for taking the leadership, and we look forward to hearing from you on your work on these issues and others that you are doing this session. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Joan, for that kind introduction. And thank you to all the League members who are here or listening in or can't make it today, but will be watching the video. You're all amazing people. And the progress we have made together in expanding access to voting has really made an incredible difference. When everybody has an opportunity to vote, our democracy is stronger. So your values and your determination really are paying off. I'll just take a moment to speak to the 2 bills that Joan mentioned. One is very straightforward and very easy to understand. Right now, the current law is mail-in ballots must be received by noon on the 3rd day after the election, which is always a Friday, but they have to be in hand by noon on that day. So it's the 3rd day after election. My bill says rather than having to receive it by noon, it can be received by 5 p.m. This idea came to me from a constituent who was concerned that a lot of mail-in ballots really just don't make it by noon, in large part because, the Postal Service is simply not as efficient or well-staffed as it used to be. So it's not a huge change, but it's a meaningful change. And I'm hoping that I don't have opposition to that, but I never take anything for granted. So, so it's always worth, sending emails to your representatives or senators and just saying this is, a common sense bill. We're adjusting to the times. I never expected that, the delivery of mail would be quite as challenging as it is today. And I've been in the Senate 13 years, so I've seen a lot of change. So that's that bill. And I should have the bill number, but I can certainly get you the bill number and the summaries if that helps you. Does that help, Joan, or?
Actually, this is Janet Boyd. Good to see you.
Hello.
Yes,
Hey, is
that
this
would be
Christine?
very
Speaking.
helpful. The
Hey,
bill,
Christine, it's Hank with Simple Side.
whoops, somebody needs to put on mute. At any rate, the bill is 760, I think.
That's correct. Yep.
And so, yes, anything that you can send to us, that would be perfect.
Okay. All right. We can certainly do that. And then the other bill that really is going to be very impactful, and I'm really welcome the opportunity to speak to it. It's Senate Bill 765. And what it is it now ensures that a court must actually make a determination regarding mental competency to vote in cases that come before court for guardianship or conservatorship. Right now, I've heard from the Northern Virginia ARC and then individuals who have had loved ones under a conservatorship or under guardianship automatically lose their right to vote. And that should not be the case. Oftentimes, as many of you know, an individual who needs a guardian, it's sometimes related to a financial situation or, they need, an individual might need assistance in managing their day-to-day affairs. That shouldn't equate to an automatic loss of the right to vote. So my bill would say that the judge actually has to evaluate the mental competence for the right to vote and articulate that decision. The bill goes on to say you can't use, poll tax type tests. The individual needs to be given the opportunity to communicate his or her interest in voting. And then the judge can make that decision. So I'm hoping that we get a lot of momentum from this. This should be bipartisan, but I don't know for sure how things are going to line up. Certainly the Disability Commission, a commission I used to chair, has endorsed this bill. A lot of other groups that work with our communities that help individuals with differing abilities, many groups have endorsed it. Certainly the league has endorsed it. So that's the guardianship bill. It will be, like I said, it's going to go before judiciary, it's going to go before the courts, and it'll be gone over with a very fine-tooth comb. The Disability Law Center, Colleen Miller, who is the executive director of the Disability Law Center, they're strongly behind the bill. The ACLU is strongly behind the bill. They've been writing to us, every few days. Do you have a bill number? They read the draft. So we've got some really, I think, dedicated and very influential partners who care about this. And the league, of course, is one of those partners. But we are going to have to do a full-fledged advocacy effort to get this bill through. I'm just based on past experience. We've had such challenges, on the other side of the aisle, and I won't be partisan here, but we've seen many bills that were aimed to really restrict access to voting. So I don't know how the cake's going to crumble on this one, but I do know it's an important issue. I know it's worthy of conversation. I know it's worthy of a hearing, and I'm hopeful.
Thank you.
The last thing, Joan, and you may have had a speaker prior to my hopping on the Zoom. The last big item, of course, is the constitutional amendment, which would restore the right to vote to individuals convicted of felonies who have done their time, they're back in society. And this constitutional amendment would then guarantee that they would have that automatic right to vote. You know, we're one of only 3 states that doesn't do this automatically. Right now, you know, an individual, once he's or she is released from jail or prison, has to actually write and petition the governor. The governor has to evaluate the case on a case-by-case basis. It's really arcane. So we've got a constitutional amendment that will fix, I believe, would give us a very good fix on this, you know, again, automatic restoration of voting rights after you've done your time, met your obligation to society. You should re-enter as a full citizen with full voting rights. So that that's one of 3 very important constitutional amendments that will be going through both chambers once the session starts. You're aware of the reproductive rights amendment, I expect. You're also aware of the marriage equality amendment, because I know you've had meetings on each of these constitutional amendments. So,
Well, it's a good lead-in because Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker is the next speaker. So you just made a great introduction to the amendment.
oh, good. Welcome, Delegate Parker.
Well, thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate your time. We appreciate working with you. And let's keep our fingers crossed that Richmond will open back up soon so we can get going. Thank you.
Hope so.
So as Joan mentioned, our next speaker is Delegate Elizabeth Bennett Parker. She does represent the 5th District, which includes most of the city of Alexandria. We've been working with Delegate Bennett Parker, as we just mentioned, on the right to vote constitutional amendment. We look forward to her update on this important resolution, and we continue to count on the passage of this resolution in 2025 so we can get the necessary second passage in 2026 after the House elections later this year. So thank you, Delegate, for your work on this important issue, and we look forward to hearing from you today.
Thank you so much, Janet and Joan and everyone. It's an honor to join you virtually from Richmond, where things are certainly very interesting, never a dull day when it comes to the General Assembly. So thank you all so much for your advocacy and all that you do. I am honored to be carrying the Restoration of Rights Amendment in the House. I've spent most of my career working with women who were previously incarcerated and know through them how important regaining the right to vote is to so many Virginians. We are the only state to permanently disenfranchise all individuals with felony convictions unless they individually petition the governor for rights restoration. And I'm so grateful for the leadership of Senator Locke, Senator Lucas, Leader Herring, Chairwoman Price, and so many other members who have been working on this issue for decades, as well as all of the advocates, not only yourselves, but others, including many who have been personally impacted, who have been working tirelessly on this. The amendment provides an affirmative fundamental right to vote for qualified voters. It also provides for the automatic restoration of political rights once a person with a felony conviction is released from incarceration, and also strengthens protections for individuals with disabilities, fostering a more just and fair society. I think I came in right at the end as Senator Favola was starting to talk about this. So I think she was maybe talking about something very similar just before, but for individuals with disabilities, the amendment ensures that voting rights are lost only if a court adjudicates that the person is incapable of understanding the act of voting. And that contrasts with our current process, whereby when guardianships are set up, those under them lose the right to vote. So you could be deemed legally incompetent to manage a checkbook and inadvertently also lose your right to vote. And so under the amendment, a court would have to say you don't understand the act of voting before you lose that right. The language that we have is the same as what passed the House and Senate with bipartisan support in 2021. And as I think Senator Favola mentioned, the current system has no transparency. It changes every 4 years. years. So no one knows what steps they need to take to get their rights restored. So this amendment creates a process that is bound by transparent rules and criteria, will apply equally to everybody, and is not left to the complete discretion of a single individual. The disenfranchisement of people with felony convictions is a relic of Virginia's Jim Crow past and was intentionally inserted into the 1902 Constitution to disenfranchise as many Black voters as possible. And unfortunately, that has worked. Today, more than 1 in 7 Black Virginians is disenfranchised, which is twice the national average. So I know we all agree that the right to vote is fundamental, and it's time Virginia affirmed that and eliminated barriers to democracy for returning citizens. And by restoring rights, we're empowering more Virginians to have a voice in shaping their communities. So this amendment is about redemption, reintegration, the belief in second chances, and Virginia's future depends on a democracy that works for us all. As I'm sure you're all aware, the House passed out of committee the amendments back in November. So they will be first up for consideration when we start session. So I haven't seen the calendar yet because we're not allowed in the building yet, but I believe they will be on first read today. And then so we will lead into debate and final passage when we come back starting next week. And thank you.
Well, I have a question from what you just said. So they're still going to read the bills? I heard there was just going to be some procedural resolutions.
So I guess I'm not 100% clear on that because I haven't seen the calendar because we are in an unprecedented situation. I know the initial plan, they would have been on first read today. I don't, generally on first read, they're just printed in the calendar and that's it. So since I'm not in the building, haven't seen the calendar, don't know if that's still the plan, but like regardless, they would, if they're not on first read today, they'll be on first read when we come back next week and we'll go from there.
I've heard the date January 9th for the floor.
So January 9th is tomorrow, and we will not.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, my dates are confused. I heard they're pushing it to the 14th, but that's also the day that the Senate P&E is going to hear the amendments.
Got it.
We don't know is what we're saying.
So that would be next Tuesday. So if it was on first read next Monday, it would be second read with debate on next Tuesday, final passage Wednesday. So
okay.
I think it just depends whether it's what happened with the calendar today, given everything.
Okay. Yeah, well, we hope to be there. So if the doors are open, we will be there. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Does anybody else have any questions?
So you have a couple minutes, Delegate. Are there any other key issues that you would like to discuss with us today quickly to let us know so we can start working with you on those as well?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've worked with you all in the past on curbside voting for individuals with all disabilities, not just physical disabilities, as well as increasing access to participation in meetings via electronic meetings for boards and commissions, as well as individual participation. Sorry, it's been a crazy couple of days, so I'm trying to think of the other bills I'm working on. I am reintroducing a bill actually with Senator Favola related to keeping illegal guns out of the hands of convicted domestic abusers. I'm introducing related to children and families with working with Senator Danica Rome to make sure that public school students have access to free breakfast. I am working on early childhood education and trying to make sure that child care workers have access to childcare so that everyone has access to childcare. And I think those are the top ones that come to mind.
Great. Again, we're very much looking forward. All those issues that you mentioned are things that we are working in other issue groups, but very much interested in doing so. We'll keep very close in touch with you on those as well. Well, any other questions from the audience?
I just want to give a shout out to Delegate Bennett Parker. She's always been a wonderful colleague and partner in pushing bills forward to really improve access to voting for all groups and to improve access to just participating in our society. such as the bill she just referred to about allowing individuals with disabilities and their caretakers to participate remotely in commissions and committee meetings at any level of government. That was a very important, I think, step forward. And I give a lot of kudos to Delegate Parker. I had the bill in the Senate, so we had to work very closely together, and we had to make amendments as always. So I just want to thank you all for paying such close attention to the issues that are so important to our society, to our democracy, and we appreciate your advocacy.
Well, thank you, Senator and Delegate. We appreciate your time, and please stay on. We have a few more speakers, and so we would, if you would have the time, we would enjoy having you participate as well. So our next speaker today is Ray Hines. He actually is a former member of the California legislature, but he's currently providing an important Republican perspective on the need for passage of the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact Initiative. This is an issue that the League has been working on for many years, as has Mr. Haynes. The League believes that this legislation is an important first step for passage of the National League's Moonshot Initiative to eliminate the Electoral College. Until the Electoral College is eliminated, we can't achieve the key principle of one person, one vote. So thank you, Ray, for your work on this important initiative and for your updates today on the outlook for passage of the National Popular Vote bill in Virginia. Thank you.
I appreciate the invitation. And interestingly enough, I was hoping to be able to talk to you all face to face. So I'm actually sitting in a hotel in Richmond, doing what I could have done from California. But that being said, one of the reasons I kind of like doing this face to face is I like lots of questions about the thing. So I'm going to talk about our plan for 2025 and 2026. For those of you who have seen the issue in Virginia, the passage of the National Popular Vote, we came one vote short. And of course, it was an important vote at the time. It was the chairman of the committee of passage last time around. So we had to start all over again. The biggest challenge with the National Popular Vote interstate compact process is in every state that we go into, we need every single Democrat on the bill, getting Republican votes. I am a Republican, and so I am tasked with getting this, with talking with my Republican friends to get this done, and it's a challenge for those who don't think beyond, today. Some of them think the only way they can protect the Republican Party is by the current winner-take-all laws. As Ms. Boyd said, this is a key. If you're interested in eliminating the Electoral College, this is the only way it's going to happen. People have to get comfortable with the National Popular Vote process. So what? And this is a way of getting them comfortable with it. And I always relate it back to the 17th Amendment. When the 17th Amendment passed, 32 of the, it's 29 of the 46 states had some form of popular vote for the for U.S. senator. So when it came time to passing the 17th Amendment to get direct election of U.S. senators, everybody was comfortable with it, and they thought, okay, we can do this. In this particular case, we need approximately 25 states, equaling 270 electoral college votes, in order to make the compact work. We see in Virginia this time around as 2025 as a building time. It's a short session this time around. We have the additional challenge that we don't know where the governor is at on the compact, but our sense is that he is not in favor of it, given his national political long-term strategy. So we think we have a challenge to getting, without more Republican support, we won't get him on that side. But what we do know and what we do believe we need to do is, between now and the end of 2025, a an effort to talk with every single Democrat legislator and make sure they're on our side. Again, I can go back our experience in Michigan. We would have had it on the governor's desk in Michigan, but we lost one Democrat vote. Where the league can be important is holding individual members accountable on each of this, to stay in contact with them, to let them know we're going to be in Virginia for the next year, talking with it and making sure we've locked all those votes down. I'm here to talk to Republicans. We've had a couple of Republicans that have said they're in support of it, but we have to, in order to get their vote, we have to have every single Democrat vote on the bill. So that's my best at this point in time. Questions are what works for me, because if you have a question, I've actually got the chat, so you can put it on the chat. I'll see that. Or if you want to do it publicly, or through this Zoom process, I can do that. But that's where we're at. What we need the league to do is to stay in touch with the members. The question I see on the chat is who's introducing the MPV bill this year. We have not yet decided whether or not we're going to have a bill. We believe, like I say, this is a rebuilding year, and we don't want to lock down votes on a bill while we're still in the persuasive process. So the chance of having a bill this year is not real large. But over the long term, like I said, what we're going to do this year is work with each of the individual members. And like I said, the league has always been an important partner in whatever state we've been in. Like I say, I'll do the Republicans. You all have talked with Chris Pearson and Scott Drexel on the Democrat side. And so we will be in touch with you, seeking your help to do that. Next question I got here is, what's the hesitation for politicians to support the national popular vote bill? Easiest way to describe that is inertia. It's the way it's been done for 200 years, and so why change something that works? Is kind of the approach. Even in the Democrats that we've talked to that have opposed it, it's been, why do we want to change? And the challenge is that the process has changed over time. This doesn't work the way it worked for instance, in 1960, when candidates campaigned, when Richard Nixon and John Kennedy campaigned in 1960. John Kennedy went to 30 states. Richard Nixon went to all 50 states. They don't do that anymore. And from this last election, you can see they were in 7 states. Trump stepped out a little bit and talked with California and talked with New York and talked with a couple other states that were non-traditional, non-battleground states. But that happens so rarely. And so what voters in 7 states right now, or 5 states in 2012, pick your number that's less than 10, and that's the number of states they're campaigning for. So when we're talking with legislators, we have to kind of don't look 150 years back, look what's been happening basically since 1988. The entire electoral process has changed, and we've gotten to, everybody has heard of battleground states. If you live in a battleground state, which Virginia was for a little bit, but is not anymore, you get all the commercials, you get all the campaign stops, you get all the speeches, and the rest of us are like spectators at a football game, watching the battle going on the rest of the way. The next question here is, how does this rank with how does this mesh with ranked choice voting? Actually, the folks at Fair Vote have a process and have proposed language to make sure it always meshes with ranked choice voting wherever it goes in. We work closely with Fair Vote to make sure that we protect the idea of ranked choice voting while at the same time promoting the concept of a national popular vote. The next question is 209 electoral votes have been secured. We picked up 4 this year. We had high hopes for Michigan, which would have added 16. We still have high hopes for Michigan coming into the next session. But Michigan changed the House in Michigan changed Republican. And so to a Republican. So getting it through the House in Michigan is going to be a little bit more difficult. We tried to do it in the interim session between the swearing in and the election, and we couldn't get it through because of one guy. I said, that's why we want to stay in touch, because one guy in Michigan killed the whole concept. The next question is, how do we plan to put it in the public domain? Because a lot of people have not heard about it. Well, this is one of the things that we do, is coming and showing and talking to a group like this. I personally have got lined up about 30 meetings with grassroots Republicans in Arizona. We do that, and we have done that in Virginia in the past, back before 2017, when we were working here in Virginia on a regular basis. Truthfully, nobody, and it's been my experience, nobody understands the Electoral College. And so trying to do this in a commercial or in any other way than face-to-face question and answer meetings makes this very difficult to actually get people to understand and become comfortable with the change. It is a big change. What we're talking about is changing how the leader of the world gets elected. And so everybody is understandably just a little bit slow about this. And okay. Senator Favola says, thank you for inviting me. Okay, she's leaving. I wanted to make sure I'm reading the messages as I see them.
Ray,
go ahead.
Yes. I think we probably ought to go to our next speaker.
Okay,
but
sure.
Sorry. Thank you for what you do. As you have described, you have a perspective that is very important for us. And we hope that we will be able to continue to work with you during this process. And please continue to keep us informed of the work that you are doing so we can cooperate. This is an important issue and one of our priority issues for the league today.
Yeah, I was going to jump in. This is Joan, and just say, we're doing voter registration and we've got 2,000 members. We would love to get more information from you all, some talking points and sheets that we can hand out. So I'll be in contact.
Yeah, make sure you talk with Chris, Senator Pearson, and Scott Drexel. They're the ones that are sort of your direct contacts. I was here to give the Republican perspective, but the bottom line is you are an important partner in this entire process, and I cannot overemphasize your importance in making this happen. And I personally thank you for the invitation to come speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So our final speaker today is no stranger to the league, is Liz White. She manages Upvote Virginia. We've worked with Upvote Virginia on a number of issues, but now the organization is focusing primarily on ranked choice voting and has had considerable luck throughout the state in getting the message out on the importance, but also has had some great deal of success in getting localities to approve it. So thank you, Liz, for all the work that you do and for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. It's always my favorite group to talk to. So we have a bill number just in time for this event. As Janet said, we are only focused on ranked choice voting this year, this session. And in fact, we're only putting in one bill. It is an important bill. It's also a bill intended to be a tool to continue the conversation and education needed on this still relatively new issue, both for the public, for legislators, for their staff, for election officials. So the bill that we've put in, it's starting in the Senate. It is SB 1009, which is my little brother's birthday, so I'll remember it very easily. I'm very grateful to DLS for doing that for me. Senator Saddam Salim is carrying this for us. SB 1009. So it is a cleanup and clarification of the existing RCV pilot program. It clarifies the scope of who is allowed, which offices, which races the locality can use RCV for. Currently, it is only county boards of supervisors and city councils. And even there's some gray area because everywhere, but every city except for Richmond has a mayor who is also a member of city council. So whether or not they can use it for mayor is a little gray. This bill just spells out they can use it for any and all local offices. So mayors and school boards would be in the mix. This does not include constitutional offices, largely because some localities share like a Commonwealth's attorney or share a sheriff. So we did not want to deal with cross-jurisdictional elections and those kinds of logistics yet. We'd like to get more use cases going in Virginia and get everyone a little more comfortable before we bring two different voting systems into one election. So that's the big thing that the bill does. The other parts of the bill, and I think I have it in, yes, I put it in the chat. If you want to read it, because this is the kind of group that would love the middle part. That's all really, really election logistic tweaking. I mean, it's things like making sure that a risk limiting audit of a ranked choice voting election doesn't play into the required number of risk limiting audits that a locality has to do. It's things like, oh gosh, let me pull it up. I mean, it's kind of defines elect's role. Again, it's really tweaky and it's nothing new. It's just codifying best practices, making sure that the way we run ranked choice voting elections is clean and really set out and clear.
Liz, I did that. I was muting other people and I accidentally muted you. Nothing personal, just bad hands. I'm sorry. So.
I mean, if you want me to stop, Joan, I'll just stop.
No.
The big part of this bill that elect specifically requested in the report they put out in 2023 on ranked choice voting, it asks elect to develop a process for certifying pieces of election technology that aren't already covered by like full voting systems, right? Like full voting machine systems already get certified, but things like electronic poll books, ranked choice voting tabulation software, risk limiting audit software, these things don't have a certification to get yet. So we will hear from localities, oh my God, we're using this software that's not certified, and it's not certified, but that's because there is no certification for it to get. So it is, it's approved, it's tested, it's all of those wonderful things. But this is, I think, as more pieces of elections become digital, this is kind of a peace of mind, standardizing measure that will apply well beyond ranked choice voting, but this is a good place to house that language that elect wants. So it is not a huge bill by any means. The scope of it is not big. It's mostly a cleanup, but it is a good way to continue talking to legislators and staff and election officials and making sure that when we go for a larger scope, everyone's a little more comfortable, has had all their questions asked and their concerns addressed. Looking at Elaine's comment, one of the initial challenges was the concern that electronic counting software couldn't handle it and would be too costly to implement. So every locality in Virginia has hardware that can support ranked choice voting. There are a lot of localities that are coming up due in the next few years for an upgrade. I think all of those, most if not all of those upgrades to the voting systems would be able to handle ranked choice voting in-house, like just within the system. Some need software upgrades just to produce a cast vote record that can be read by the ranked choice voting software. That's the add-on. The state has contracted with, it's called RC Tab, Ranked Choice Tabulator, from the national nonprofit, the Ranked Choice Voting Resource Center. every voting machine used in Virginia can produce a cast vote record that can be read by that software. The state, it's free software that the state paid for because of Zuckerbucks. So we paid a few $1,000s for the free software. But the state has paid for it and has made it available to all of the localities. So at most, any locality just needs to pay software upgrades. And as I said, a lot of places are coming up due for new equipment anyway. That's all. I mean, that's all the bill does. We're starting it in the Senate because we kind of didn't really need a cognate of it, I think, but it's just this is a really good educational tool. Hopefully the governor will sign it. He vetoed a similar bill last year, as we know, but he did leave the door open in his veto memo. He did not say, I hate ranked choice voting and I think it's a bad idea. He said, we need more education. We're not quite ready yet. So we're a year later and Arlington's run 2 more ranked choice voting elections. Charlottesville has, yay, Arlington. Charlottesville has adopted ranked choice voting to try in their 2025 primaries for city council. We're making a lot of progress in a lot of other localities. So it's been a big year. Hopefully this still has a path through the governor's office as well. And I'm open to questions. Now you all are all experts on this.
Well, I don't know that we're
Oh.
experts. There is a question. Why don't you go ahead and answer Susan's
Sure.
question? Go ahead.
Larger jurisdictions, which are already hard pressed to certify the count in a short time allowed, the deadline was recently extended to 10 days. You'd need much longer with ranked choice voting. I don't know that you'd need much longer. I mean, certainly there's some extra steps. The biggest, I think, consideration with ranked choice voting is the way that elect has decided to report the results. You could report all of the rounds of a ranked choice voting election on Tuesday night and just have a big fat asterisk that says there's still votes coming in. This might change, which is true of every election result on Tuesday, on election night. What they have chosen to do instead is wait until that Friday or Saturday when every ballot is processed, every provisional ballot is cured, every mail-in ballot is received, and then they release everything past the first round. Either way, the actual tabulation of the subsequent rounds is a minute. The delay comes entirely from waiting for all those ballots. So I don't think it adds a lot of time, but I do. And Susan, this is not to diminish the incredible hard work that the election officials everywhere, but especially in these larger localities, are doing. I mean, my goodness. And it is also why I think having this be a local option is so important, right? Like, Fairfax County is going to have to take that into account in a way that, Accomack is not. So I think talking to election officials, talking to registrars, talking to electoral boards is something that we make sure to do. We don't want to be the group that's dropping a brand new thing in the laps of election officials. Like, enough people do that, right? So it is definitely a consideration, but I think the actual processing of a ranked choice voting election doesn't actually add that much time.
Thank you so much, Liz, for your time today and all your work. This is important. It obviously was disappointing to us when the governor vetoed the bill last time. So I'm glad you're continuing work on the administrative side, because unless the administrative side gets done right, there will be a lot of skepticism. So thank you. We look forward to continuing to work with you this year. And that is our final speaker today. And I was given just a couple minutes to make sure that everyone knows what are our key priority issues this year in the General Assembly, in the voting and elections area. And we really have 6 priorities, and many of them were discussed today, one of which really wasn't discussed a whole lot was campaign finance reform. That is an important issue. And we will be looking at, there's a number of bills that have already been introduced in that area. So we will be continuing our work with the hope that some good bills will, like in disclosure and auditing, will get passed this year. Second, we want to ensure voter access, and that is, as we've discussed, the right to vote amendment and ensuring the safety and accommodating voter needs. Third, we're working on improvements to election administration and security, including voter list maintenance, and we were talking about that earlier today, as well as protections for election officials. Fourth, the expansion of ranked choice voting, as Liz described aptly. Fifth, the passage of the National Popular Vote Compact, and then we discussed with Ray on that as well. And then the final priority area is to strengthen the rules on the impacts of guardianships and the loss of voting rights, which Senator Vivola discussed in detail, and she is taking the lead on that. We do look forward to having additional participants in our issue group. We meet monthly on let me make sure I get this correct, the second Fridays of every month, and we do it by Zoom so everyone can participate, and it starts at 3 o'clock and we usually end at 4 o'clock. And with that, thank you so much for your time from the issue group perspective. We look forward to working with you. I'll hand it over to Joan and to Denise to close this out.
Okay, thank you. We did get a request from our gun violence issue group, and Christine Payne. In fact, they will be our leaders next week because our issue will be gun and domestic violence. But there will be on Martin Luther King Day, January 20th, 2 p.m., a rally for gun and violence at the Bell Tower in Richmond. You don't have to worry about water. It's outside, it's at the Bell Tower. And yes, so if you are there that day, we'd love to see you at the Bell Tower. And also now I'm going to turn it over quickly to Denise, who is going to talk a bit about Lead Day that is coming up on the 22nd. So Denise, are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm going to be real quick. Thank you all for coming and staying. So really fast, if you haven't signed up for League Day yet, all you have to do is go to our website, lwv.va.org, and go to events, sign up. We will be at the Omni Hotel. We start at 9 a.m. And I just like to say, you will be treated to a breakfast, and our League Day will focus on our 3 constitutional amendments, and you do not want to miss that. So come, this is our time to show the legislators and what we're going to do about all of our issues. We thank our voting and elections team this week. As Joan said, next week will be gun violence prevention. But don't stop there. Come the night before on the 21st, and you'll have a chance to go to a reception at the tobacco company and enjoy some great food and things like that. So please come. It is our time to really talk to your local legislators in your area and show the power of the league. So it's great. Partner together, do what you need to do, but come on out and show your support. Thank you.
Thank you to Denise and Janet and all our speakers, and we will hopefully be hybrid next week if the buildings are open 8:30. And then, like you said, on the 22nd, we will be in person only for Lead Day. So thank you all. Stay warm, stay safe. Appreciate you coming. Bye-bye.
Bye.